I'm watching videos of Americans finally realizing they've been heavily brainwashed by their own government saying that China is bad after being on Red Note for just a couple of days.
I'm seeing all over my FYP a bunch of disgruntled Americans regarding how America seems more like a third world country and everything that they learned and knew about China is just not true.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about something that might surprise you. How Americans have been totally misled about China. For years, Americans have been told that China is a terrible and backward place to live. But in reality, China is ahead of US in more ways than you can think. And a lot of Americans are only just starting to realize that.
I can't believe it. I'm watching videos of Americans finally realizing they've been heavily brainwashed by their own government saying that China is bad after being on Red Note for just a couple of days. Now, I've already seen some content from there that's been shared on this platform, and I'm going to tell you, they're pretty spot on. I mean, they have developed a lot in the past 40 years. Just Western propaganda just makes them sound evil. But if you were to ask any genuine Chinese person about how their country is, they'll tell you honestly. And yet the US are dumb enough to believe what their government tells them. Wow. Utterly shocking.
I don't trust most Americans' opinion on China. I lived in China for 3.5 years, and I can tell you the news does not paint the full picture of China. It shocked me how advanced China really is. They use mobile payments for everything. WeChat Pay, Alipay. People don't pull out credit cards any longer over there. They have high-speed rails that go just about everywhere. In Shanghai, over the past 30 years, has developed from being a countryside to being a full, blown-out city. We don't talk about this. Also, Americans don't understand how complex China's history is. There are 1.5 billion people in China, and they have a history that spans thousands of years. You can imagine having that level of history. Why they operate the way they do and react to things now is probably due to what happened in the past. For example, so many Americans ask me, why is China so strict on drugs? We're not like that in the US. Well, China had the first and second opium wars where Westerners brought opium and it completely trashed their economy. So looking at this history, we can see why China has such a strong stance on having drugs in the country. They don't want an inefficient population. And the way I think is we oftentimes ask, why is technology, why are our products not allowed to go into China? If I'm looking at history and I'm seeing all the different ways that Westerners have come over and completely China's economy, I'm like, if I'm trying to build up a country of 1.5 billion people, most of which are in rural populations, how are you going to have American technology come over and completely overtake their country? My whole thing is when we look at China, we have to understand the full picture. It can't be a comparative game with what does the US do and oh, China should do the same thing. We are very different countries. We have very different histories, and we have to understand that when we go to make a perspective, which is why
I'm seeing all over my FYP a bunch of disgruntled Americans regarding how America seems more like a third world country and everything that they learned and knew about China is just not true. So if you're mad about the groceries and that they don't have to pay property tax after they pay off their mortgage, let me tell you that they have better work-life balance than we do. So during my doctorate studies at Johns Hopkins, I was sent over to China to do research with the Center of Disease Control. They do have a CDC as well. There's none of this really super calculated, hey, you take 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch if you work 40 hours, but if you work under 20 hours, you don't get a break except for one 15-minute break. It's just weird policies that we have in America. No, they have a lot of freedom to leave work, go get a boba, go get an ice cream, come back. They actually support you taking naps. At the CDC, they used to have these beds for you to go and take a nap if maybe you live too far from work. Otherwise, most people go home during lunch because their lunch hour was 2 hours. 2 hours was their lunch break. Not to mention the majority of the time we were always leaving to do PR and like relationships. So social networking is a huge thing over there. Whereas in America, everybody's isolated. You don't even know who your neighbors are, right? Like you just go straight to your house when you come home from work. But not there, not there. I remember like we would meet other government officials during lunch, and then they'll gift us like big boxes of grapes and of course alcohol. And then their alcohol is like 40% alcohol. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna so get drunk and throw up. But it was, we were drinking like during the day. Like it was like day drinking, like daytime drinking. And it was because we were social networking with like these people, right? And this was okay. This was almost applauded. And there's always something to do after work. So you don't just go home and pass out and like, I don't know what else we do. Like it's so toxic in America, but there's always something. So I just remember like flying LED kites like during the summer, going to the river, yeah, just there's always like an activity, and that's also why they're so slim and they're so much more healthy, because you easily like you don't just walk 5 miles, the 10,000 steps that is recommended. Like you walk like 10 miles a day. It's like just so easy to do. But yeah, they had better work-life balance, and that whole like, oh, they're them passing out at their desk working 120 hours. No, bitch. They ain't working 120 hours. I was like given so much liberty and freedom when I was like, and I had my own executive room, which was crazy. They're so polite. They're like, oh, American foreigner, like let's put her in an executive like room. It was so chill. Like the majority of us were always like, I think like they were even playing video games during work hours. But I mean, they do work, okay? I want you to think they do work, they get stuff done, but there's just so much liberty. There's none of this like toxic clock in and clock out, and this snitch Nancy that's like watching you and your every move just so she could report you to HR. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have that shit.
I just watched a video of an American person in tears because they found out that Chinese people have public toilets. Oh great, now I can't open my eyes. And they're also really surprised about how am I meant to do this? And they're also really surprised to learn that Chinese people don't pay for ambulances either. I saw a video a minute ago of a woman being like, when they get an ambulance, it's free! On Red Note, people in China think that it's propaganda that people actually have to pay for ambulances. And Americans are shocked about it. Firstly, I'm confused because everyone's been saying this to Americans, like, we don't pay for healthcare either. But anyway, it makes you wonder, what the hell have they been learning about China? Like, I don't know that much about China at all, but like, I would never have thought that China doesn't have public toilets. Like, they're pretty high tech as far as I'm aware. I've been seeing videos about how they got like touchscreen things in their toilets, and I'm not surprised about that. But there's a video of an American woman in tears to learn that. Like, what have they been learning over there about China?
A lot of what Americans have been told about China isn't true. China is not some scary or poor place. China is actually really doing well in a lot of ways. So besties, next time you hear something about China, ask yourself who is really benefiting from that story. So besties, thanks for watching. And if this video gave you something to think about, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!